This is Kylie with Fem and Flow. Welcome back to the Blueprint Restored series. So far in this journey, we named how the divine blueprint got hijacked and fractured, and then we traced how to restore the divine blueprint through the body as the architecture of coherence and the mind as the golden bridge. We also talked about how this divine energy in the body translates into coherence in our lives. As we have been touching on, all of this isn't just for us as individuals. The work of coherence isn't only personal, it is planetary. Today, we're going to bring the blueprint down to Earth because the ultimate purpose of restoring the blueprint isn't to escape, ascend, or retreat, it's to embody heaven on Earth. It's to anchor coherence in the soil we walk on, the relationships we live in, the systems we touch, and the culture we create. So let's start off by talking about Earth as the original blueprint. We've talked about this fractal relationship of all that is before, but your body is Earth in miniature. The calcium in your bones comes from the same minerals that forms Earth's crust. The iron in your blood mirrors the iron found at Earth's core. And the water in your cells is the very same water that has circulated through oceans, rivers, and clouds for billions of years. When you restore your body, you're literally restoring Earth's design at the micro level. Your nervous system is a forest floor of roots and branches, an echo of Earth's magnetic grid. Your mind, when coherent, reflects the same rhythms Earth already carries: day and night, winter and spring, inhale and exhale. And here's the thing: Earth never lost the divine blueprint. She has always carried it. It's humans who have forgotten. And this forgetfulness matters because Earth and humanity exist in a macrocosm microcosm relationship. Earth herself holds the divine feminine blueprint, while humanity embodies the divine masculine counterpart. Together, they are meant to spin in balanced polarity, a fractal union mirroring the larger design of all creation. When this relationship is balanced, a third field emerges, a coherent resonance that uplifts both Earth and humanity simultaneously. It's the union of form and field, matter and consciousness, stability and flow. This third field is what mystics have long pointed to as the birth of the new earth, or heaven made manifest on earth. And it's not a separate place we escape to, but it's a frequency born from harmony. But when humans forget their blueprint, this spin falls out of balance. Instead of co-creating with Earth, we extract, dominate, or disconnect. The result is not only ecological collapse, but also internal collapse, anxiety, fragmentation, and loops of distortion. Humanity's amnesia about its role destabilizes the entire polarity with Earth. And within humanity, the same fractal relationship repeats: the masculine and feminine currents. The masculine is meant to shape and structure, the feminine to carry tone and flow. When they are out of sync, we see domination, suppression, and polarity wars. When they spin in harmony, however, they also generate a third field, one of creativity, coherence, and true union. This is why healing isn't just about the individual, but about restoring polarity at every fractal level. When you balance masculine and feminine within yourself, you ripple that coherence into humanity. When humanity remembers its blueprint and spins in harmony with Earth, the entire planetary grid comes back online. Now let's talk about the Garden of Eden and the esoteric truth. This polarity we're talking about is at the heart of the Garden of Eden story. Esoterically, Eden was never about a literal garden, but about humanity's original state of coherence with Earth. It was the memory of living in the divine blueprint, a state where the masculine and feminine currents were balanced, where humanity walked in union with the rhythms of creation. The so called fall was not about eating fruit, it was about forgetting the balance of polarity. It was about moving from inner union into separation, from co creation with Earth into control and distortion. The expulsion from Eden was humanity slipping into amnesia, forgetting that heaven on earth is not generated by force but by coherence. And this is the esoteric key to all of it. Eden has never been lost from Earth. Earth has always remained in her blueprint. It is humanity who forgot how to match her frequency. When we restore the spin of polarity within, masculine and feminine in harmony, and between humanity and Earth, masculine and feminine in cosmic partnership, Eden naturally reappears as the lived reality of heaven on earth. Eden was never about a garden we lost. It was about a field of coherence we forgot. And when we remember, when we embody the divine blueprint again, we return into the very state humanity was always meant to carry. And in this bigger picture way, when we speak of the Garden of Eden and how polarity is the heart of it, you could view the Garden of Eden as this third field that is born from coherence. Now let's talk about the Christic polarity, Magdalene and Yeshua. So, as we talked about earlier in the series, truth was never fully erased, it was preserved in hidden lineages. And we've talked about this before, but one of the clearest embodiments of Eden restored was Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. Their union was not just a love story, it was the living demonstration of balanced polarity. Yeshua embodied the divine masculine current form, structure, action, clarity. Magdalene embodied the divine feminine current tone, resonance, flow, and the carrying of wisdom. But their true power wasn't in their individual embodiment, it was in their union. When they spun together in harmony, they generated the third field, the Christic frequency. This was Eden reborn in flesh. And remember, there was a huge inversion. The story of Yeshua was hijacked to erase Magdalene, to suppress the feminine current, and to distort union into sacrifice. By removing the feminine, the church encoded separation rather than coherence. Humanity was told salvation comes through suffering instead of through polarity restored. But the deeper gnosis is this: Eden's field, the divine blueprint, has always been encoded in that union. Magdalene carried the memory of Eden in her womb. Yeshua carried the memory of Eden in his blood. And together they made visible what happens when masculine and feminine currents spin in balance. Reality itself reorganizes around love, coherence, and resurrection. This is the same work now. The Garden of Eden is not history that's in the past. It is in every moment we restore balance within ourselves, with one another, and with Earth. The Magdalene Yeshua union was a foreshadow of what humanity is being asked to remember collectively. Eden restored as embodiment. So now let's fit some of these pieces together. Let's talk about Eden to Magdalene and Yeshua to us now. So, Eden was the original blueprint humanity in harmony with Earth, masculine and feminine spinning together in balance, generating that third field of life, coherence, and presence. That's where we began. When humanity slipped into amnesia, when we forgot the blueprint, pieces of it still lived on. And one of the clearest examples of that was carried in the union of Magdalene and Yeshua. And like we've been talking about, their relationship wasn't just symbolic, It was energetic. It was Eden made flesh. It was divine union made flesh. It was this third field. It was a balance, polarity and coherence, masculine and feminine in union, creating that radiant third field of Christic light. And the part that matters so much is that same restoration now lives in you and me. We're not going back to Eden as if it was some lost paradise in the past. We're reopening Eden as a frequency in the present. So every time you choose to balance your inner masculine and feminine, every time you align with Earth instead of extracting from her, every time you step out of reactive loops and into presence, you are literally re anchoring the Edenic field or the Christ field or the white hole field. We can call it many different names. But it is the field of coherence with God, coherence with source energy, and aligned with our true nature, our divine blueprint, how it's supposed to be. And this is the spiral of restoration. So Eden is the beginning. Magdalene and Yeshua were preservation, and us now, the embodiment. So it's not gone. Eden is not some myth. It is encoded in your body, in your breath, in your own coherence. So when enough of us start to remember and live from that tone, this whole collective garden and this whole idea of Eden starts to bloom again. Now let's talk about this third field in real life. When I talk about the third field, I'm not talking about something abstract or mystical floating above us. I'm describing a very real phenomenon of resonance and coherence. When two complementary currents come into balance, whether it's masculine and feminine within you, between you and another person, or between humanity and Earth, they generate a state that neither one could create alone. It's like the space between two notes that creates harmony. That space is the third field. You've probably felt it before. Here are some examples. In a conversation where both people are listening deeply, a new insight arises that neither had before. In a room where the tone is calm and loving, kids behave differently without anyone telling them to. In nature, when you're walking slowly and your breath syncs with the breeze and the sounds around you, ideas or clarity drop in seemingly out of nowhere. That's the third field at work. It's the energetic and practical sweet spot where reality reorganizes around coherence. It's not magic, it's just feedback from your energy. It is a synchronistic, mirrored reality. Balanced polarity creates stability, and stability makes room for new possibility. At a collective level, this is what people mean when they say New Earth. It's not a separate planet or a utopian place we go after death. It's the third field that emerges when enough humans hold inner balance and live in resonance with Earth again. Systems, communities, and relationships start to restructure themselves naturally around cooperation, beauty, and life-giving patterns instead of extraction and fear. This is how heaven on earth actually gets built. We don't escape the old, we embody a new frequency until reality mirrors it. So when you hear me say third field or new earth, think of it like this. So at the personal level, balanced inner masculine and feminine, and that leads to greater creativity, calmer nervous system, and clearer choices. And then at the relational level, two or more coherent beings, it leads to synergy, innovation, healing, and unexpected ease. And then at the planetary level, this is humanity in balanced polarity with Earth. This leads to culture, systems, and technology that support life instead of draining it. So like I've said, this is not just an idea. It's an actual felt shift you can practice daily. You can practice it in your breath, your boundaries, your choices, and your relationships. And every time you practice it, you're contributing to the third field that births the new earth. Now let's talk about Earth as a living body. One of the most profound truths of the blueprint is that your body and the Earth body are not separate. They are mirrors. The same 12-dimensional architecture that organizes your fascia, blood, and breath also organizes rivers, ley lines, and atmosphere. When you look at your body, you are looking at a microcosm of the planet. So here are some different mirrors. Fascia and ley lines. Your fascia is the connective tissue grid that carries light. Earth's ley lines are the connective pathways that carry planetary current. When your fascia hydrates and flows, you strengthen your resonance with Earth's grid. The next mirror is blood and rivers. Your blood carries oxygen, memory, and tone. Earth's rivers carry water, minerals, and life force. When your blood flows with coherence, it harmonizes with the rivers. Microcirculation mirroring macrocirculation. The next connection is breath and atmosphere. Your lungs take in oxygen and release CO2. Earth's atmosphere breathes through forests, oceans, and winds. Each conscious breath you take is a dialogue with the planet's lungs. The next mirror is bones and mountains. Your skeletal structure holds form and stability. Earth's mountains are her bones, anchoring tectonic plates, storing ancient memory. Your alignment mirrors her alignment. And the last connection I'll make is the nervous system and planetary field. Your nervous system regulates tone and response. Earth's electromagnetic field regulates solar influx, protecting all life within her. When you regulate your nervous system, you tune into the Schumann resonance, syncing your rhythm to hers. Every part of Earth reflects a part of you. You are not separate from her. When you heal, you're restoring a fractal piece of her. When she shifts, you feel it in your own body. This is the mirror in its most direct form. So now let's talk about the 12D Earth Body Codex. And I'll add this in the show notes in a companion guide. If you've been listening for a while, you know one of the biggest frameworks of everything I talk about is the 9-dimensional structure, and that is because we currently can access 9 different dimensions of energy currently on Earth. But a few episodes ago, I introduced the 12-dimensional structure. And it's really cool because everything goes back to this 12 plus 1 framework. This goes back to the 12 archetypal tones, the 12 tribes, our 12-strand DNA. It's just so cool how it all fits into this framework. So let's talk about how this 12D structure connects to the earth and the body. So the first dimension, this is related to DNA and minerals. So in the body, it's DNA as the foundational code, minerals as the scaffolding of that code. Then within Earth, crystals, ores, and mineral lattice in the crust, and this is Earth's memory bank. So here's some really interesting fractal insight. When soil is depleted, human DNA expression weakens. Remineralizing Earth and the body reactivates dormant codes. Now let's talk about the second dimension, and this is related to the microbiome. In the body, gut flora regulating immunity, digestion, and communication. Within Earth, soil microbiome and ocean microbiome, these are the base of ecological health. So here's some fractal insight. Diversity equals resilience. Loss of microbial diversity in soil and gut mirrors cultural and ecological collapse. Now let's talk about the third dimension. This is related to bones and muscles. So in the body, skeleton as structure, muscles as strength and motion. Then within Earth, mountains as bones, tectonic flows as muscular contractions. So here's some fractal insight. Spinal misalignment mirrors tectonic stress. As within, so without. Now let's talk about the fourth dimension. This is tied to the nervous system. So in the body, nerves and myelin conducting signal regulating tone. Within Earth, it's the electromagnetic field, Schumann resonance, and lightning grid. So here's some fractal insight. A dysregulated human nervous system mirrors solar storms destabilizing Earth's shield. Coherence syncs the two fields. Now let's talk about the fifth dimension, blood. In the body, circulatory system distributing oxygen and memory. Within Earth, rivers, streams, aquifers carrying water and nutrients. Here's some fractal insight. Blood clotting or stagnation mirrors dammed rivers. Clean circulation mirrors flowing waterways. Now let's talk about the sixth dimension. This is related to fascia. So in the body, we can view it as fascia as a liquid crystalline web linking all tissues. Then within Earth, ley lines carrying current across the land. So here's some fractal insight. Trauma scars fascia like inverted grids distort ley lines. Hydrated fascia restores light flow. Human coherence reactivates ley lines. Now let's talk about the seventh dimension, which is related to mitochondria. So in the body, it converts nutrients and light into ATP, which is life force energy. In Earth, solar influx metabolized through plants, oceans, atmosphere into ecosystems. So here's some fractal insight. Human mitochondrial exhaustion mirrors planetary energy exhaustion. Repair is light-based in both. Now let's talk about the eighth dimension, which is related to brain waves. So in the body, alpha, beta, theta, delta rhythms shaping thought and awareness. Then within Earth, seasonal cycles, tides, day and night patterns. These are Earth's brainwave rhythms. So here's some fractal insight. Beta dominance, which is stress loops, mirrors cultural overdrive and ecological imbalance. Returning to alpha and theta mirrors seasonal and tidal rest. Now let's talk about the ninth dimension, which is related to eyes and vision. So with the body, eyes and pineal gland as receivers of light and gateways of vision. With Earth, ocean, skies, auroras, sacred sites aligned to stars. These go along with Earth's eyes. So here's some fractal insight. Clear human vision, which is gnosis, restores cellular alignment. Blindness in humans mirrors fractured cosmology and false timelines. And I don't mean physical blindness with the eyes, I mean spiritual blindness, not being tuned in to gnosis. So now let's talk about the 10th, 11th, and 12th in this framework. And I actually didn't mention this in the episode about in the body. I'll go back and add this in the book though. So the 10th dimension is related to voice and resonance. So in the body, that is the throat, vocal cords, and resonance of voice. And this is the human instrument of frequency. Then within Earth, winds, whale songs, thunder, planetary sound currents. So here's some fractal insight. Distorted speech mirrors distorted soundscapes, like noise pollution and weaponized frequencies. True tone restores harmony in both. So now the 11th dimension, and this is related to the light body. So in the body, it's the subtle light body, the aura, the toroidal field. Within Earth, it's the auroras, the ionosphere, and crystalline atmosphere. So here's some fractal insight. Human auric distortion mirrors aurora disruption by solar storms and pollution. A coherent light body strengthens Earth's light shield. Now let's talk about the 12th dimension. This is related to the crown and cosmic gateways. So in the body, it's related to the crown chakra, connection to source, and the inflow and outflow of higher light. In Earth, it's polar gates, cosmic inflow and outflow at the poles and stargate sites. Now here's some fractal insight. When humans block source flow, Earth's stargates invert. When humans open coherence, polar gates stabilize the planetary grid. This matters so much because this codex shows the macro and micro fractal truth. Earth's body is your body. Your body is Earth's body. When one dimension heals in you, it entrains healing in her. When she shifts, you feel it in your own tissues. Healing is never just personal, it's planetary. And that's the point I've been making again and again. Now let's talk about the hijack on Earth. Just as the body has been poisoned and the mind hijacked, Earth herself has been distorted. The same tactics used to fragment your nervous system have been scaled up to fragment the nervous system of the planet. We're not just witnessing random crises. We're seeing a planetary version of the same hijack we've been tracking in the body and mind. We've seen it everywhere. Food systems engineered for depletion rather than nourishment. Our soil stripped of minerals, our crops laced with chemicals, our diets flooded with empty calories. The body can't stabilize when its food source is incoherent, and neither can humanity when its food systems are incoherent. The next example is cities are designed to overstimulate rather than ground. Noise, artificial light, constant EMF fields, and concrete grids break our natural circadian rhythms and our relationship with sky, sun, and soil. The next example is economies are built on scarcity rather than abundance. The planet is abundant by design, but scarcity has been manufactured to keep us competing, consuming, and disconnected from our true power to create. The next example is time itself is fragmented into schedules and deadlines. Instead of living by sunrise and sunset, seasons and cycles, we're trained to live by alarms, clocks, and productivity metrics. This tears us from the body's natural rhythm and the Earth's natural rhythm simultaneously. And beyond these visible distortions, here's how the false matrix interacts with Earth, the energetic hijack of the planet's subtle body. So here are the ways. Pollution clouds her breath the way trauma clouds your own. War inflames her nervous system the way chronic stress inflames your vagus nerve. Fractured timelines, lost history, and buried gnosis scramble her memory field the way unresolved trauma scrambles your own. Inverted grids, ley lines misused for control rather than flow, mirror scar tissue and fascia, blocking life force and distorting natural current. The hijacked blueprint of Earth looks exactly like the hijacked blueprint of the body. Survival loops, bracing, stagnation. The planet is showing us at scale what it looks like when the original design is suppressed, but still trying to function. And this is really important to remember. This isn't just happening to Earth. It's happening through humanity's forgetfulness. The extraction, the depletion, the overstimulation, all of it mirrors the inner state of a species that has forgotten its divine blueprint. When the inner masculine and feminine currents go out of balance inside us, they also go out of balance in how we treat the land, the waters, and each other. But just as restoring your nervous system brings your mind back online, restoring your relationship with Earth through food, rhythm, boundaries, and presence begins to repair the planetary grid. Every garden planted, every walk barefoot, every local economy built on trust instead of fear is a small but real act of restoration. The hijack is fractal, but so is the healing. Now let's talk about living as a stabilizer on Earth. So you might be asking, okay, well, what do we do with all of this? We stabilize Earth by stabilizing ourselves. When you choose coherence in your breath, in your nervous system, in your relationships, you're not just healing you. You are anchoring a frequency into Earth's grid. Your nervous system becomes like a tuning fork, resonating with the original rhythm of creation. This looks deceptively simple, but it's so profound. So here's some very simple things. It's things like drinking clean, mineralized water. You're not only hydrating your cells, you're telling your body we're in coherence with Earth's water again. Walking barefoot and syncing your body with soil, grass, and stone. This discharges static, recalibrates your vagus nerve, and literally entrains your body to Earth's magnetic field. Choosing natural fibers that let your skin breathe. Cotton, linen, silk, wool. These materials carry Earth frequencies instead of synthetic static. Respecting the rhythms of light and dark, rest and action. Sunrise before screen light, darkness after sunset. Rest woven into work. This realigns your circadian rhythm with the planet's own day-night polarity. These aren't just wellness hacks, they're acts of planetary restoration. Every time you sync your nervous system with Earth's original design, you strengthen the grid. Your field ripples into your home. Your home ripples into your community. Your community ripples into the collective. And this is what it means to live as a stabilizer on Earth. You're not waiting for a massive external change. You're understanding that your coherence is the change. One regulated nervous system is a stabilizer for the field. One person living in true tone becomes a quiet but potent anchor point for the new Earth to emerge. Now let's talk about Earth as a mirror and teacher. Earth isn't just a home we live on, she's a mirror and a teacher. Just as we use shadow work to refine the mind, we can use Earth reflection to refine our collective. The patterns we see in nature are not random. They're signals, mirrors of what humanity is carrying in its collective field. Natural disasters, climate instability, resource conflicts, these aren't punishments. They're reflections. They show us where we've stepped out of alignment with the divine blueprint. When the forest burns, it mirrors our inner inflammation, the heat of unresolved anger, collective rage, and the way we consume without replenishing. When rivers dry, it mirrors where we've lost emotional flow, where we've dammed our own hearts and disconnected from the currents of love and reciprocity. When storms intensify, it mirrors the collective nervous system in chaos, a humanity overcharged, ungrounded, and dysregulated. When the soil erodes, it mirrors our lack of rootedness, the forgetting of ancestry, belonging, and depth. The invitation is not to collapse into despair or rush into frantic saviorism. Both of those are loops of the hijacked mind. Instead, the invitation is to stabilize and listen, to meet Earth's reflection as feedback, not as doom. Every crisis is both a mirror and a dojo. Earth is showing us where the imbalance lives, and at the same time, she's training us to hold frequency under pressure. Just like a muscle grows stronger when it's tested, our collective coherence deepens when we learn to anchor presence in the midst of upheaval. And this is where the three paradigms come in. In the black hole paradigm, Reality is dominated by contraction, fear, extraction, domination, survival loops. It's where the blueprint feels most inverted. In the white hole paradigm, reality stabilizes into coherence, flow, reciprocity, creativity, union. This is Eden restored. In the bridge paradigm, we live in between. Distortion surfacing, coherence not yet locked in, the nervous system of humanity and Earth recalibrating under pressure. Earth herself is in a bridge phase right now. We see it in chaotic weather, mass extinctions, collapsing systems, and old structures crumbling. From one perspective, it looks like crisis. From another, it's recalibration, the flushing of distortion at the planetary level. This mirrors exactly what happens in your own nervous system when you begin to heal. Old traumas rise, symptoms spike, and things that were buried surface for release. It doesn't mean you're failing. It means your system is moving towards stabilization. Earth is going through the same bridge symptoms. What looks like chaos is actually the body of the planet purging distortion so the white hole coherence can anchor. When you stabilize your own nervous system, you can see Earth's storms, quakes, and upheavals not only as external events, but as mirrors of this larger recalibration. And when you hold your tone steady through the bridge, you help Earth hold hers. Now let's talk about white hole coherence on Earth. If the bridge phase feels chaotic, it's because distortion is flushing out. But the story doesn't end there. On the other side of bridge symptoms is stabilization, the white hole paradigm. So let's talk about what restoration looks like at the planetary level. So the first example is rivers running clean again, mirroring emotional flow restored in humanity. So imagine rivers that no longer carry toxins, plastics, or chemical runoff, but they are clear, alive with fish and microbial ecosystems that purify water naturally. Communities gather around these rivers for resources, ceremony, reflection, and joy, restoring the ancient truth that water is sacred. On the human level, this looks like emotions flowing freely again, grief expressed instead of repressed, joy celebrated without guilt, tears welcomed as cleansing, and love moving like a current instead of dammed behind walls of fear. Just as rivers carve landscapes, coherent emotional flow reshapes our relationships and communities. So here's another example. Forest regenerating, mirroring nervous systems that no longer burn with inflammation. Vast stretches of land rewild themselves. Old growth trees rise again, creating canopies that regulate climate, hold carbon, and offer shelter to countless species. Forests breathe, and in that breath, the earth cools, steadies, and resets. For humanity, this reflects a nervous system no longer burning with inflammation from stress, poor diet, and overstimulation. Instead of constantly burning out, people stabilize into rhythms of rest and regeneration. Calm becomes the default state, not the exception. The forest becomes the outer mirror of a body that has relearned how to self-regulate. Here's another example. Ley lines reactivated, no longer distorted for control, but flowing like healthy fascia in the body. The energetic grid of Earth, long inverted or misused, begins to hum again with clear signal. Sacred sites light up as true power nodes of planetary coherence. Pilgrimages shift from consumer spectacle to living prayer. Humans arriving not to extract energy from the sites, but to co-resonate with them, offering tone and receiving tone. This is fascia restored. Where scar tissue once locked flow, the grid reopens. In the human body, this is fascia releasing its chronic tension, letting tone move through without block. Humanity feels lighter, freer, no longer braced in survival mode, but attuned to flow. Here's the next example: cultures remembering gnosis, reconnecting with ancestral rhythms, and reweaving wisdom into daily life. Imagine indigenous teachings as guides for the present: planting by moon cycles, building with natural materials, treating food as medicine, and honoring reciprocity with land and sky. Science and spirit merge, informing each other, both seen as languages of truth. This looks like children learning how to regulate their nervous systems through breath alongside math and history, like communities reclaiming food sovereignty and rejecting systems of extraction, like ritual returning to the hearth of every home. It's the reintegration of wisdom that was never meant to be lost. Here's the last example I'll give: a collective nervous system that feels calmer, more present, no longer locked in hypervigilance, but rooted in coherence. At scale, this means societies where the baseline isn't fear, but trust, where breaking news isn't weaponized to create panic, but information is shared with clarity and discernment, where healthcare is built on prevention, coherence, and nourishment, not just crisis response, where rest is valued as much as productivity, and people live by rhythms of the sun and season instead of only by clock and algorithm. On the collective nervous system level, it looks like no wars, polarity and balance, less reactionary division, and more collaboration, more steady presence, more ability to sit in difference without collapse. This is what New Earth really means. It's not a utopian fantasy, it's the natural outcome when polarity balances and coherence locks in. Earth already knows how to do this. She has never lost the blueprint. What she's waiting for is humanity to remember ours, to stabilize our nervous systems and align with her frequency. Because remember, I've been saying this again and again: human coherence is part of planetary coherence. Each time you regulate your nervous system, drink mineralized water, walk barefoot, or choose gratitude over rumination, you're not only healing yourself, you're becoming a stabilizer node in Earth's grid. Your body literally becomes a tuning fork that entrains the field around you, including the body of Earth herself. When enough nodes of coherence come online, the field flips. The bridge phase gives way to white hole coherence, where reality feels less like crisis management and more like living in synchronicity with a planet fully alive. This is how New Earth is born, by remembering her, not by waiting for an external savior, but by embodying coherence here and now, in our bodies, in our relationships, in our homes, in our choices. Now let's talk about planetary nodes and sacred sites. Earth herself has energy centers just like the human body. You might think of them as planetary chakras or nodes, places where the ley lines converge and the planetary nervous system pulses most strongly. Sites like Roslin Chapel in Scotland, Giza in Egypt, Machu Picchu in Peru, Jerusalem, Mount Shasta, Uluru in Australia. These are not just historic or mystical landmarks. They are living nodes in Earth's fascia, carrying memory, tone, and blueprint codes. When humanity is fragmented, these sites often lie dormant or distorted, like blocked meridians in the body. Some have been misused: ley lines inverted for control, monuments built to harness power rather than circulate life force. But when coherence returns, these nodes reawaken. They hum, they transmit. They act like acupuncture points on the planetary body, sending coherence through the grid. Their relationship works in reciprocity. Coherent humans awaken sacred sites, and sacred sites in turn awaken humans. When you walk into a node with a regulated nervous system, you don't just visit, you activate. Your field meets Earth's field, and a remembering happens. This is why pilgrimages have always existed. It's not for spectacle, it's for synchronization. And when enough of these nodes reawaken in harmony, the entire planetary grid reorganizes. Just like your nervous system heals when fascia, breath, and tone come back into coherence, Earth's grid heals when her sacred centers are reconnected. This is why remembering the divine blueprint isn't abstract, it is literal grid work. Every embodied stabilizer, every sacred site reactivated, every coherent community, these are acupuncture points in Earth's healing, stitching her fascia back into flow. So, like we've been talking about, Earth has her own energy centers, planetary chakras or nodes where ley lines converge and the planetary nervous system pulses most strongly. These sites aren't random, they mirror the same architecture we carry in our own bodies. Just like you have chakras aligned along your spine, Earth has chakras aligned across her grid. Here's a traditional mapping. And I'll also put this in the companion notes because I don't know how to pronounce some of this, so excuse my pronunciation. So the root chakra is Uluru in Australia. This is in the Red Rock Deserts. It's primal, grounding, and pulsing with Earth's heartbeat. This is Earth's base chakra, mirroring survival, safety, belonging. And then the sacral chakra is Lake Titicaca in Peru and Bolivia. It's a high altitude womb of waters carrying deep feminine currents. This node mirrors creativity, sexuality, birth, and the flow of life force. And then the solar plexus is at the Great Pyramids of Giza in Egypt. This is power, will, and transformation. This node mirrors humanity's collective fire, the ability to act, to build, to channel divine will into matter. And then the Earth's heart chakra is Glastonbury and Shaftesbury, England, linked to Stonehenge. The lush green lands, Avalon myths, and healing springs. This node mirrors compassion, love, and the capacity to unify heaven and earth. Then the throat chakra is at Mount Shasta in California in the United States, a volcanic mountain and mystical hub. This node mirrors expression, truth, communication, and the broadcasting of frequency. And then Earth's third eye chakra is on the Iran and Afghanistan border, a hidden, mysterious mountain range. This node mirrors vision, perception, inner sight, the awakening of collective clarity. And then the Earth's crown chakra, Mount Kiliash in Tibet, sacred to multiple regions, untouchable and revered. This is Earth's crown, the place of cosmic connection, divine remembrance, and pure source current. When humanity is fragmented, these sites can become dormant, blocked, or even inverted, like energy centers in a dysregulated body. Some ley lines have been misused, their energy rerouted for control rather than life force. But when coherence returns, these nodes reawaken. They pulse, they transmit. They act like acupuncture points, sending healing resonance through the planetary grid. And remember, as I've been saying, this is a relationship based on reciprocity. Coherent humans awaken sacred sites, and sacred sites awaken humans. When you visit a node in coherence, you don't just go there, you synchronize. Your field meets Earth's field, and memory floods back in. And like I said before, this is why pilgrimages exist. As more nodes reactivate in harmony, the planetary grid stitches itself back together, just like fascia rehydrates and reconnects in a healing body. This is planetary coherence, and this is the new Earth rising as living architecture. So now let's talk about stabilizers as portable nodes. You don't have to fly to Tibet or stand at Giza to activate the planetary grid. When your nervous system stabilizes, you become a node, a living acupuncture point of coherence on Earth. So think of it this way. Sacred sites are like Earth's major chakras. But every coherent human is like a micro node in the fascia of the grid. When you regulate your breath, nourish your body, and anchor presence, your field locks into Earth's resonance. You broadcast steadiness, and that steadiness travels through the ley lines, the fascia network of the planet, just like electrical current moving through wires. And this is why presence is not passive. One regulated human heart field can entrain hundreds of others. Science is already catching glimpses of this in studies on heart coherence and electromagnetic entrainment. Spiritually, it means you are not just doing your inner work for yourself. You are literally strengthening the planetary nervous system. And like I've said multiple times, this is a relationship of reciprocity. Sacred sites remember the blueprints, and when you step into them with coherence, they mirror that back to you. But even when you're at home, walking barefoot in your backyard, or lighting a candle at your altar, you are syncing with the same planetary grid. You are not separate from the great sites of Earth. You are connected to the same ley lines that run through mountains, temples, and oceans. This is why the work of stabilizers is so important right now. As old systems collapse and the collective nervous system wavers, each coherent being becomes a stabilizer node. Enough nodes linked together form a network of living sacred sites, the portable Eden field. That's what the new Earth actually looks like. Not just pristine rivers and healthy forests, but humans remembering their role as walking nodes of coherence, spinning in harmony with Earth's original design. So we've talked about this a lot, but let me put it into a more compact form here, because we are going from individual healing to collective restoration. So everything we've explored in this episode comes down to this. Coherence moves fractally. So the micro view is your body, your breath, your nervous system. And then meso, your relationships, your creations, your home. And then macro is Earth's body and field. When you stabilize your inner world, you're not just getting healthy or becoming spiritual. You're participating in planetary service. The Divine Integration Program is not only a human project, it's Earth-wide. Your embodiment sends ripples outward. A steady nervous system anchors a steady home. A steady home anchors a steady community. A steady community becomes a tuning fork for the collective. And this is how micro moves to macro, and how the new Earth is born through embodied restoration. When enough of us practice this, we don't just create small pockets of change, we flip the field. We become a living grid of stabilizers, rethreading Earth's fascia, realigning her rhythms, and reawakening her nodes. This is what planetary restoration looks like at its most grounded level, not waiting for a future utopia, but living the frequency now, one nervous system, one household, one community at a time. So now let's talk about why this is so important now. Earth is at a tipping point, just like the collective mind. The distortion has reached its edge. Systems built on depletion are collapsing. Loops of control are fraying, and the divine blueprint is reemerging. This is not just a breakdown, it's a threshold moment, what I've been referring to as the polarity flip equation. So first, enough people begin questioning and waking up to what's actually going on. The old narratives no longer hypnotize in the same way. Second, the polarity stretches so far in one direction that it can no longer hold. It collapses under its own imbalance. And the third, a new field, a white hole frequency, must exist to catch the flip. Without that new frequency, collapse just recycles into the same distorted frequency, just with new masks. With the new frequency field and scaffolding, collapse becomes recreation. I recently shared that we have officially entered the collapse cycle. So part 1 and 2 of the equation are complete. We hit critical mass when it came to enough people questioning the status quo, and the polarity has stretched to its breaking point. We're now living through the flip. What's left is part 3, building out the white hole field that catches the collapse. I've talked about this before, but this field has already been seeded and the scaffolding set. Some of you listening have been going through the true embodiment process already, preparing your bodies and nervous systems to hold more and more of this frequency. So let's get into the quantum physics. Think of polarity like a wave. When two opposite currents, masculine and feminine, earth and humanity, are out of sync, the wave becomes chaotic. But when those currents come into phase, when their peaks and troughs align, they don't cancel each other out. They interfere constructively. In quantum physics, this is constructive interference. This creates a new, larger amplitude wave, a third field. Two frequencies in coherence create a third pattern of energy that's more powerful and more ordered than either one alone. Like I said earlier, when the earth, which is the divine feminine, and humanity, which is the divine masculine, when those two poles are spinning in balance, it creates a third field, what we call new earth. It's not a separate planet or a place you go. It's the emergent field that arises when polarity is restored to balance. And balanced polarity equals stable resonance. And stable resonance equals a coherent quantum field. And a coherent quantum field, it reorganizes matter, systems, relationships, and perception automatically. And this is because form follows energy, and when the system is coherent, it's working automatically and creating this mirrored synchronistic effect. So when I talk about new earth, I'm talking about the natural result of this polarity flip. The moment enough of us hold inner balance, the collective wave locks into phase. The flip is not just systems collapsing. It's the old interface pattern dissolving so the new pattern can emerge. The white hole frequency is the catcher's mitt for that emergence, the field that receives the collapsing wave and reconstitutes it at a higher order. Every time you stabilize your nervous system, balance your inner masculine and feminine, or align with Earth's rhythms, you're literally feeding that new interference pattern. You're not only witnessing New Earth as an idea, you're participating in its quantum creation. Every coherent body is Earth remembering herself. Every coherent mind is Earth recalibrating her grid. And this is why it matters so much now. The more of us who step into coherence, the faster Earth stabilizes. The more of us who remember, the smoother the polarity flip, and the sooner New Earth becomes a lived frequency. So now let's close this episode. The blueprint is not restored by leaving Earth. It's restored by living fully on Earth. When the body is coherent, the mind becomes golden. When the mind is golden, the body locks into deeper coherence. And when both are stabilized, Earth feels it. Every small choice matters. Sunlight instead of scrolling, gratitude instead of rumination, minerals instead of depletion, rest instead of overstimulation. Each of these choices lays down golden threads in your nerves, in your body, in Earth field. Remember, this is not abstract. Your nervous system is an antenna. Your presence is a stabilizer. Your coherence is a frequency that ripples out into homes, communities, and ultimately the planetary grid. And this is why now is so important. We've already crossed into the collapse cycle. Systems built on distortion are unraveling. The polarity has stretched to its breaking point, and what catches it, what flips into new Earth, is the coherence we anchor here and now. The white hole field is already seated, and every embodied being adds weight, stability, and clarity to that emergent field. In practical, grounded terms, this is the third field, the resonance born when polarity is balanced, in your body, in your relationships, between humanity and Earth. It's what quantum physics calls constructive interference. It's what mystics have always called Eden restored. And it's not a concept or a someday dream. It's a live frequency we are weaving right now. So remember, you are not just healing yourself. You are not just calming your own mind or tending your own body. You are stabilizing Earth. You are part of the field that catches collapse and reorganizes it into coherence. And this is what it means to bring heaven to Earth. And it's not escape, it's not a fantasy, it is just true embodiment. And it's not someday, it's actually here, it's now. And the truth is, you are Earth remembering herself, and you are the blueprint restored. So remember that, and I love you all. And remember, please go follow me on Patreon. Sign up to be a member, but you can go to the free membership if you want. There's a free tier and a paid tier. So find me there. I'll link it in the show notes. Oh, and next episode is the Blueprint Restored Part 6, America Respiraled. I already have it written, and I love this episode. I love this whole series. Also, I'd love to share this with others because it's so important. So if you have anyone in your life you think it would resonate with, please send it along. Again, I love you all and have a great week.